Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Welcome back, and today I'll be discussing some of the newest makeup announcements and releases that have been made during the last week or so. About today's videos, there is quite a lot of things, and I think there's actually quite a lot of good things that have been released or announced during the last week, and it's a bit surprising because I think definitely like the January was pretty like quiet, of course, because it was after Christmas, but also I think now during February we haven't had that many busy weeks, but it seems that during this week like every brand basically like announced something or they actually launched stuff. So yeah, and as I said, there's like quite a lot of things that I find very interesting, so let's see with my March budgeting what I'll be able to squeeze in and what I'll just have to leave onto my wish list and see that if it's something that I want to get later on. But let's start talk about the newest makeup announcements. Okay, and let's begin. So first one is something from Natasha Denona. So we are getting a new palette type from her. So these are the Luxe Glam Compact Quad Eyeshadow palettes, and there is, I think initially now there's like 3 variations that have been released. I thought that these are like for quads. I do think these look quite nice, but I did like had to roll my eyes when I see the pricing. So apparently if you buy these from US, these go for around 48 US dollars. I think in euros these were like a bit over 50 euros. And I do think considering like 4 eyeshadows, even if they are not a Denona, like that is pretty pricey. I do think the pan size of these ones is bigger, so I think you are getting more product per pan. For example, if you compare to the midi palettes or the like small 5-pan palettes that you can get from her, but I just think that these are pretty overpriced for what you are getting. And also I do have to say the color stories, I do think someone already made the comparison that there are quite a lot of like repeat shades if you do own some of her like bigger palettes. And just as a whole, I would say the color stories are kind of like, I can get it that these are probably meant to be for those people who use one quad every single day to do their sort of everyday makeup look. And I don't think like when I looked at the like demos of these one, the shadow quality seems to be nice, but for me these are just a bit overpriced, and that's the reason why this is something that I am going to be skipping. Makeup Revolution has launched a new lip product, so this is the Euro Lip Line Blurred to Perfection, so it's the Meet New Revolution Blur Lip Shape Liner. So I think this is it a like double-sided lip product? I think there's like 2 sides of this one, so you get a, or is it only like one? No, I think there's like one side to these. So basically it's a, yeah, okay, so the other one is this sort of like soft touch applicator that you can kind of use to spread out the product. So I think this is one of those like lip crayon or pencil type of products, so this is something that I think you could use to technically line your lips, but also because it has the sort of like squishy applicator at the other end, I do think this is something that you could also use all over your lips. For me this is kind of meh. This is not usually primarily a lip product type that I like to buy. I usually just have my lip liners and then I have my bullet lipstick, so for me this is kind of a meh product. But if you are someone especially who maybe struggles applying their lipstick and you want something a bit more precise with the application, then I think this kind of product could maybe be nice. Then something very surprising. So we have 4 new quints from Dior, and I think these are in a similar packaging that they launched some quints during last year. I do think those did get quite a lot of hype. I do think these are like for color stories. I had to like really look at these and like go like, wow, this is this really Dior? Because yeah, there are like a couple of more neutral ones, and I think these are a bit more like paler neutral shades compared to the quints they released in the same packaging last year. But then the two quints that are in the like upper side of this picture, like those are pretty colorful for being Dior. Like the blue one is maybe like a bit more on the muted side, but even that one kind of has a pop of like minty green to it. And then there's the like very colorful one that has basically like there's a bright pink, there's a red, there's a lilac leaning blue, and then there is kind of a bit more like there, I think there's like an icy white, and then you have kind of like a pink in the middle. But yeah, for Dior I do say this was refreshing. We're seeing something a bit different. So I still don't think this is a product that I'm gonna get because these quints are quite pricey and these colors. For me to buy a Dior quint like this, it has to be pretty much perfect. So for me this is a skip, but I can like appreciate Dior for putting effort into these ones. Kiko came out with a new collection, so it is that time of the month again. So this is the SUQQU Couture collection. I do have to say a lot of these things look pretty nice, and I don't know why, because when you look at the products themselves, like there isn't anything that exciting. The eyeshadow quads, there's like 2 of them. Those are quite neutral leaning. I actually had to like double check on website that is there generally like 2 different eyeshadow quads in this collection because they look very similar. There's like only very tiny undertone difference between them, but like the packaging and the products still that are included, even though the color stories are pretty basic and probably something Kiko has done dozen times before, I am liking a lot. Like I could even like see myself getting one of the eyeshadow quads just to see what kind of formula this is, because this is a bit different. They have, I don't remember if they had like baked shadows, because the eyeshadows in this one look to be more like the baked formula. Usually Kiko does these pretty traditional palettes. It could be that they have come out baked formula before, but it could be that it's just so well that I don't remember. I mean, the lipstick bullet looks nice, even though again the lipstick shades, we have probably seen those. There are some potted cream blushes, those are pretty popular currently. Of course there's new 3D hydro glosses. I think there's even a foundation stick. I was kind of eyeing the foundation stick because I think it's supposed to be a bit more a hydrating formula, but yeah, I like this collection even though it's a very basic Kiko collection, but for some reason it's very appealing to me. Let's see, because there's been now quite a few Kiko Milano collection that I've been looking and seeing that there's like quite a few things that I would like to get, and I think we are now getting to the point that there might be enough for me to make an actual order from their website. Hourglass is expanding their sort of dropper style cheek products, so they came out with a blush in this similar packaging. I think it was last year, and apparently that was a popular product because now they have the Unreal Liquid Highlighter. For me, this kind of dropper highlighter is just especially because highlighter is something that I use very focused on my sort of like cheekbone area over here. Maybe sometimes if I want to do something fun, maybe then a bit on my nose and on my like upper lip, but usually with highlighters there's a very specific place I want to put it, and for that purpose I feel that this dropper highlighter like packaging is maybe not precise enough. I think if you're a person who sort of mixes this in with their foundation, this kind of dropper thing could be pretty nice, because it's, in order for this product to come off the dropper it has to be pretty liquidy. But I think for my sort of like a highlighter application, the packaging is wrong, even if the product quality probably in this one could be great. I kind of do like there are 2 shades, the Evoke shade and then the Divine shades, which are both like more pink-ling shades, of course, obviously, like hello, pink highlighter fan here. So those are pretty appealing, but Hourglass is pretty pricey. There is like a few retailers that I can get Hourglass quite easily from. They are like, you have to order it from online, but the shipping doesn't take that long, but it's just very pricey, and for me, because of the packaging, this is a no. So Klarity is coming out with a new like bigger palette. I have the Klarity Rain palette that they released a couple of years ago, and now this I think is in, I think this might be the same size as that particular palette. So this is the Quiet Night palette. It's a, what I would say, a like neutral meets grungy, I would say, is the color story. Like we have a bit of blue, there's a bit of green in this one, but then you do have quite a few neutral tones. I think for me it's a bit too much on the like blue side to be interesting for me, because then when I look at the neutral tones in this one, those are also maybe not the kind of neutral tones that I usually enjoy, or that I don't already have in my collection. So I think for me this is a skip, because it's quite a big palette and there's quite a few shades in this one that I don't like. But I do have to say the Klarity Rain palette that was in a similar size than this particular palette is in, I do think the quality of that palette, considering how many shades you got, was pretty good. So I think if you're interested in this color story, then maybe give this one a try. Is this the first summer release that we're talking about? This is the Terracotta Golden Dunes powder from Guerlain. I mean, another terracotta bronzer variation. Did we get like genuinely 3 different shades, or are these actually like the same shades but the packaging is different? Why is it looking that we are getting the same shades but they're just like varying the packaging? Like, could we please with Guerlain, like Guerlain is a luxury brand that has like, they are sold widely, they can mass produce their things. Could we please get more than 1 shade of the terracotta bronzer? Because I think it's getting ridiculous by this point that we're not getting shade range variation. The packaging is cool, that's why I kind of wanted to feature this. I do think it's quite summer-esque, so I'm a bit unsure that is this like a summer release that was kind of leaked earlier, or is this kind of like a individual limited edition release. But the packaging, I'm giving it 10 out of 10, but the shade range, like, could we please with the terracotta bronzer start getting more shades, because it's like, come now, it's like 2026 already. We need more than like just 1 shade of bronzer in your line. Then a palette that I am eyeing very seriously. So Glaminatrix has launched a new eyeshadow palette. This is the Old Soul palette. By the way, Monolith Shops has announced their March launch date. It's gonna be on the 3rd of March, so in a week's time. So this is the second launch they're gonna be having this year. And this particular palette, and actually a lot of palettes, I usually post on YouTube and on Instagram a sort of compilation of my sort of top fave picks, usually from Monolith Shops, like monthly launches that they do. So this is gonna be included in that launch. So if you shop indie brands within Europe, I would not maybe recommend ordering this from Glaminatrix website unless you really want to, because they do ship all the way from Australia. Just wait for a Monolith launch. It's gonna happen in 1 week's time. This kind of reminded, I was kind of thinking that where I've seen this color story before. So this palette reminded me a lot of Cosmic Beauty's, this sort of cool tone neutral palette. I don't remember now the name of it, but Cosmic Beauty released that palette during last fall. And this kind of reminded me of that one where you had kind of cool tone neutrals, but then you kind of have a pop of pink and some like warm tone leaning shades in this one. I do think this looks quite pretty. I don't really need another new neutral palette, but I'm kind of being like more into my more colorful palettes now from like during, like I think last fall is basically when I started getting more into my colorful palettes again, because I had been in a neutral kick for quite a long time. So this is a very strong, maybe this was already listed on Monolith Shop website, and I do have to say Glaminatrix's palettes are pretty decently priced. If you shop them from Monolith Shop, they are like around 54 euros, which is pretty like decent considering that we have indie brands that charge much more from their palettes, and I do think the shimmers, especially in this one, look very beautiful. So this goes to the maybe list, but I have been already like eyeing what is going to be on Monolith Shop's March launch, and there's going to be quite a lot of like good palettes there. And again, I'm a bit more on a saving mode, especially now in the beginning of the year, so I can't shop everything that I'm eyeing currently. So we're going to be making hard choices. But I think this is already available on, yeah, you can already get this on Glaminatrix's own website, but if you're shopping within EU, just order this from Monolith when it launches on the 3rd of March. NARS is coming out with 2 new stick products. So first one is that they are expanding this sort of like, they basically launched blushes in this particular range last year, and now they expanded this with first their, I think, bronzing or sculpting sticks. So the multiply sculpting sticks comes in 5 shades, and there is one cool tone shade which I am quite happy to see. I do have to say the 4 other shades, these look quite warm leaning, but there is one cooler tone shade, so if you're someone like me who has a cooler undertone, this could actually be a good shade match, but otherwise these are looking more to be a bronzing shades. I do think for being a range of like 5 sort of contouring bronzing sticks, I do think there is enough shade range. Maybe the like 2 darker ones could be maybe a bit deeper, but I do think this is like an okay. And I assume that if this is popular, NARS is probably gonna expand this one. So aside from the contour sticks, I do think we also had highlighter sticks. 2016 is really back if we're getting highlighter sticks again. So these are the light reflecting luminizing sticks, and these are also in 5 shades. And highlighting sticks are not my cup of tea. I think I have discussed this quite many times. For me, they are usually Vaseline. Glitter with Vaseline has been the experience with a lot of these. There are a few exceptions there. For example, the L'Oreal highlighter stick is actually a favorite, but with this one I would have to see that how glittery, that is it more of a like nice sheen like the L'Oreal highlighter stick is, or is it just like, as I said, glitter on a Vaseline, when then it's not something that I will enjoy. This is apparently coming in April. I think the contour sticks or the bronzing stick, those are already like supposed to come in March. Yeah, so the bronzing and contouring sticks are gonna come in March, and then the highlighter stick is gonna come later. It's gonna come April to NARS retailers. Benefit is also launching some new products. So first one is we're getting more stick products apparently. So this is the Juicy Stick Dewy Gel Blush. So Benefit is hopping on the train of these gel blush sticks, and this is, I think Milk has made this product like most popular. I have tried my fair, like I tried I think it was a W7, this sort of jelly blush stick. Wasn't a fan because with that one you had to blend that quite fast to get it to spread out. So I'm a bit curious that how Benefit has solved this formula, because I have heard that based on quite a lot of reviews, a lot of these like gel stick blushes tend to be the kind of formula that you have to work with them quite fast, otherwise they will set quite quickly. But it could be that Benefit has done this better and it is a bit more like workable and blendable. I do have to say the packaging of this one is kind of fun, and I don't say that a lot with Benefit products, but with this one I have to say the packaging is fun. Is this something I'm still gonna buy considering it's Benefit and it's a bit more expensive and I do have my fair share of blushes? Probably not, but I will give them credit. The packaging is fun. Another thing that I do think they tried to do something fun with the packaging, even though I'm not maybe a fan of the packaging in this one. So this is the Daze Airy Liquid Blush. Okay, so we're actually getting two liquid blush, like two blush products. I was thinking these are actually like liquid lipstick, but okay, this is another blush product. I think this looks to be more maybe a bit on the matte side, because I do think the gel stick blushes, obviously those are a bit more on the doer side, so we are getting the Airy Liquid kind of maybe implies that this is a more matte. Weightless liquid to air texture, waterproof. Okay, so this is gel. Yeah, I think this is probably a bit more matte leaning than the ones in the stick. As I said, maybe not the fan of packaging so much. There are a couple of like nudie looking blush shades that do kind of look nice, but I'm probably again gonna skip this one purely because I have my fair share of blushes and Benefit is more expensive brand again, so I don't need to spend that much money to buy a new blush. Next one, so we are having a new launch from, was this Adept? Yes, it was Adept. So Adept is releasing another of these big palettes that have a lot of special shades. This is the Sapphire Selene drops, Sapphire Selene is the palette name. I do have to say I like the cover of this one. Again, good packaging, we're getting a lot of that during this week. I am happy to say that this is at least a bit different, because I do think a lot of people have been saying with Adept that they have now come out with so many of these big palettes, and because they put so many special shades in them that we have been seeing kind of a bit more two similar color stories in between palettes, and considering that these are more expensive palettes, I think that is something that maybe have people going that do I really want to spend that much money on another palette that is pretty similar to the other one. This is definitely, compared to the last couple of ones, more cool tone leaning, and it is like kind of more purple leaning. There's a fun pop of mint in this one. Maybe we could have seen more green, because I do think that like when you look at the cover of this one, it is very like heavy going on with the sort of mint green, so I'm a bit surprised we're not actually getting more like green in this one, because there's only the one matte, and then I think there is one of the shimmers looks to be, it could be because probably a lot of these shimmers are more shifty shimmers, some of them could maybe shift more to green once you actually spread them out, but yeah, surprisingly maybe, I was kind of thinking, because I initially when I only saw the insides of this one, I was thinking that okay, the outer packaging should maybe be something purple, but they made some interesting choices. I still do actually like the packaging. For me, this is a skip. I'm not like, I have like a couple of Adept palettes and I do like them, but because they are quite pricey, and because this, for example, is not a color story that is appealing to me, it's a easy skip. But again, I do think Monolith Shop said that this has been already like listed on their website, so if you're shopping this from Europe, just wait for the next Monolith launch. 2016 again, truly back. So Plouise has brought out another one of these 3-tiered mega palettes. We saw one of these palettes during last year when they did the wedding collection or during springtime, and there was this huge neutral palette where there was basically one layer of cream shades, one layer of matte powders, and then you had one layer of shimmers. I am happy actually with this one. I don't think this has the cream shades, which is kind of good, because I tried last year a smaller palette from Plouise that had the cream formula. Wasn't a fan of it. It really didn't help with the longevity of the eyeshadow. I think with this one you are only getting like matte shadow, 2 layers of matte shadows, and then you have the 1 layer of shimmers. Is this unnecessarily big? I think if you need a rainbow palette you can do with much less. I would say that even for a makeup artist, I'm kind of still struggling to see the purpose of this one, because even if this kind of folds is still pretty bulky and big to like move around, and with makeup artists usually you see your clients like outside of like in different venues or wherever they need their makeup to be done. Sometimes clients can come to studios, but I'm still maybe struggling to see that who is the target market for this. But if you're looking for your ultimate rainbow palette that definitely has every like bright color under the sun, then maybe look into this. I think the pricing of this one, if this goes to the same as the neutral one, it was around like 60 or 70 euros. So I don't think if you start counting that towards per shadow, then the price isn't that expensive. But just maybe consider that could you maybe do with a smaller rainbow palette if you really want to get one. SUQQU is launching, I think this is supposed to be a pre-summer collection, that is at least how this is advertised. So this is the Whispers of Sunlight collection. I do have to say, like, SUQQU nails their color coordination every time with their collections, like, truly. Actually, I have to say, one of the quads is quite interesting. It is this, like, muted green, and then you have a bit of pop-up pink in this one. These are pretty pricey. SUQQU is one of those brands that I like to admire from afar, but avoid spending my own money to it, because I'm kind of still in the belief that while everything is very pretty and nicely curated, it necessarily might not be worth the money, because these are pretty pricey. The best place I think to get SUQQU from Europe is from Cult Beauty, but not like, I think most collections do come, but then there are some collections that for some reason don't come. So if you're shopping this within Europe, look from Cult Beauty's website if this will be available. But I do have to say, for a pre-summer collection, this is pretty nice, and as I said, one of the quads, this actually looks pretty. Like, even for SUQQU, I would say that the greenish leaning quad, because it's a bit more on the muted and paler side, it is a bit something like different. Then the last release of the day that we're talking about, and this was something that the brand had teased quite a while. So Nomad Cosmetics has brought a new collection, so this is the Setting Sail, the Cruise collection. And with this one we are having something a bit different. So first of all, there are two highlighters in this one. There is more of a bronzier one, and then there is the pink one. 2016 is definitely back. I would have never guessed we're getting like this colored 4 or 3 like section highlighters back, but they are like very much back in style. I would have to say, like, I looking at the pink one, I'm thinking that yeah, I could still like maybe see myself getting that one, but we're not getting that one anymore. Like we're just, no, like, I have my highlighters, and even though I like pink highlighters, this is maybe going too much pink. But if you were missing your sort of colored 3 or 4, like having these like 3 or 4 like highlighter shades within one highlighter, at least Nomad is now catering towards that kind of demand. About the eyeshadow palettes, so there are 2, and this is a new. We have like maybe in the past seen some collections that there have been multiple eyeshadow palettes within, but I think 2 big palettes is something new. I do kind of like the color story of both of these, but I'm kind of questioning the fact that one of these is an all shimmer palette, and there is nothing wrong having an all shimmer palette, but then I'm thinking that if it was supposed to match with the matte one, because when you look at the matte palette, it is kind of very like muted colorful shades, and then there are like quite a bit neutrals also in it. So for me there's a bit of like mismatch, because I was kind of expecting that, okay, if we get this very super colorful bright shimmer palette, then I would have expected that we would have also gotten a matte palette that would have maybe like also matched the shimmer one. The shimmer palette, it's quite pretty, but I am quite good in terms of having my all shimmer palettes, and also the matte palette, even though the tones are kind of like, they're kind of interesting, but also not maybe primarily something that I'm that interested in. So I think even though I do kind of like overall the vibe of this collection and theming of it, I'm still gonna say that it's a skip for me. Those were the launches that I had to discuss for this week. I do have to say there were quite a lot of like nice things, not maybe again something that I'm like that interested to order, but there were some interesting stuff. I think the Glaminatrix eyeshadow palettes from this week's releases was my favorite. Again, I do also like the Nomad collection, but I just think when you start looking at the things individually, I kind of went that it's a nice collection, but maybe still the products aren't exactly like there to be there in terms of the fact that I want to buy them. Comment down below what were your sort of top picks from this week's launches. If you like this video, push the like button and subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname Makeup Hedgehog on Instagram. I'll be again in another video. Bye bye!